Hi, welcome back to another Hot Potato podcast. My name is Tina, and today we're talking about CSPs with Noriko and Peter, who will be sharing their experience in leading and assisting CSPs with you. So, first and foremost, what CSP stands for?
So CSP is basically community service projects. I also want to talk more about CSP. So CSPs are mostly about innovative projects focused on serving the community. They range from technology to social work and can be proposed by basically anyone. You don't have to be in the IJHS or you don't have to be in the GSLC, but you need to be someone who has a vision to achieve. And then the CSP committee is responsible for supporting and managing your CSPs. Yeah, that's the introduction.
So, what do you need to have prepared before you propose a CSP?
Currently, right, we based it on our CSP proposal Google form. Basically, you need to tell us some things about yourself, and then you also need to provide us with details of your CSP. The details will consist of one, a general overview of your project that is about your CSP, who are your target audiences, and then when is the estimated date for launching the CSP. And then you also need to tell us about your research, general timeline, resources, including funding, materials, marketing, and manpower. And lastly, you also need to tell us what you need from the GSLC and from the board advisors.
Okay, there's a lot of information, but what are the actual resources that CSP and Board of Advisors can help with in all of this planning? Is that something the person introducing a CSP needs to be like focused on by themselves, or is there any support that you can offer in the planning stage?
Mm, for us, right, we provide you with guidance and manpower to make your ideas into reality. For example, during YALA, or we can say it as well as Young Achievers Leadership Academy, we have some brilliant CSP ideas. So after that camp, we think that it was such a waste of talent and ideas if we just let their CSP slip without pursuing it further. So now we are helping some CSPs and providing them with support in terms of manpower, constructive feedbacks, and funding if needed, like I said earlier. Now we have some ongoing CSPs as well, including Peter's CSP, that is Cogniforge. Yay.
So you mentioned the CSP being as ongoing. How long does a CSP needs to be? Can it be a one-off project, or how long do you usually need them to be to get approved?
Timeline itself, we do not have a specific timeline. If you remember what I said earlier, we need you to include your timeline in the proposal, but that doesn't limit you to have a specific timeline. We have a CSP that will be ongoing for 1 year and above, or we also have a temporary CSP, for example, to donate some stuff, and last time was blankets. So it really depends on you and what you want to achieve from your CSP.
Okay, so from what I understood, the goal of CSP can be anything from helping someone directly in some short time to developing a long-term project that's going to have an effect on the community over a prolonged period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so you also said that whoever is leading CSP may or may not be an IJHS member. Does it mean that the whole team can be out of non-IJHS members, or is there a need for a connection to the community for us to approve the project?
I would say it is better for you if you have a connection in the GSLC member. Like I mentioned earlier, we used to recruit CSPs created by YALA participants, which at that time wasn't or isn't part of the GSLC and IGHS yet. Some of them are now in the GSLC and IGHS now, but not all. So we are also planning on recruitments for country CSPs soon, which do not necessarily mean you need to be in the GSLC, but being a IJHS member or even a CSLC member has its own benefits itself. Like, yeah, I think it's easier for us to communicate and work on your project with the members, but as long as you have the determination and great ideas, I think we can make it work somehow for sure. Or if you want to talk about CSPs in general, you can start your own CSP first before pitching your ideas to the GSLC. We are extremely open to help you, whether it be a brand new CSP that has no resources or manpower but has amazing potential and is not out of reach, or you can also be having your CSP that has developed but needs further support from the GSLC. So the main point is the idea itself must be really, really great for us to be interested in. And the second point is for you to have a good communication with us. So if you have both of them, I think we can make it work.
Okay, so let's take a hypothetical situation that I have a CSP idea. I go on to where to find a form.
For the form, you need to contact one of the CSP heads or our president, which is Min Min, or the CSP heads, which is me and Nobel. We can send you the link, but yeah, generally, you can find the CSP information in our IJHS website. If I'm not wrong, it's ijhscommunity.org/CSP/.
Okay, we'll put the link to the form somewhere where it's accessible from the podcast. So let's say I have the form, I fill it in with some of the people that will be helping me and with whatever the goal of CSP is. And if CSP committee does approve it, what are the next steps? What is the help that you as the committee offer, and what can I expect from board of advisors?
Okay, I would like to talk more about the board of advisors first. So, the board of advisors, we really have a prominent and powerful people. A few of them, including Mr. Henry Ong from Singapore, Professor Lee Ann Laffey from USA, or Miss Fu Pao Chus from Singapore. And they all truly practice leaders give, givers get. And from the name itself, you can know that they are all professionals at their own field and comes from all around the world. So basically now in the board of advisors, we can come to them and ask them for advices when we need it, fundings, which will mostly come from Mr. Henry. And if they are also interested, we can even ask them to be our mentor. So they will help us as long as they see our spirit and they know that our CSP has potential to grow to give back to the society. And secondly, after you propose your CSP, I think the CSP committee will look through your form and then we will give feedbacks to whatever you give in the form. And then if we think that your idea is manageable, you think that if we think that we can make your CSP grow to be a good one, we will contact you furthermore and then we will give you the resources needed. For example, in terms of resources, we are really broad. If you need anything, we will obviously try our best to accommodate, but generally we provide fundings, manpower, connections with people from IJHS, GSLC, and the board of advisors who may share the same interest like you. And then we can also give advices on how to make your CSP realistic and easier to pursue. And Peter, as the founder of Cogniforge, do you also want to add anything else? Like, what do you get from the CSP community so far?
Definitely. I feel like CSP committee has been really useful for me to like start my CSP project, which I'll talk about later. And it's been really helpful in when it's first incubating. I'm like going through the pitch, developing my pitch, developing that core idea that will get me to like making my idea more polished. I got constructive feedback from the heads and the members, as well as tips in which how to proceed to get funding and prepare materials and such.
Sounds great. So before we jump into talking more about Cogniforge specifically, is there a place where people could find out more about, in general, the CSPs that happened before or those that are currently ongoing and find one that they may be interested in joining?
Ah, interesting question. If you guys want to know more about CSP or if you want to um propose your CSP to us, you can visit IGHS website at ijhscommunity.org/csp/, and you can read more about our CSP there. And in the website there, I think we currently have School for All by Nobel, Cogniforge by Peter, The Green Ribbon by Tanura, and some others. But if you want to propose your CSP, like I said earlier, you guys can always contact the CSP heads, us and me on Nobel, or you can email IJHS, or you can contact Min as the president of the GSLC.
Great. I think that sounds really useful for anyone that kind of wants to get into CSPs and maybe experience one before actually starting to lead it. But we do know that people that lead CSPs are usually super enthusiastic about them. So, Peter, you've been aching to talk about Cogniforge. What is it and what inspired you to start it?
Absolutely. Okay, so in case you don't know what Cogniforge is, it's essentially a free online platform focusing on personalized learning with mentor-guided projects. And what it does is that it encourages the IJHS community to just learn more through co-work sessions and peer-to-peer collaboration. Our vision is to empower these students and these communities to achieve more through learning, right? And our mission is to build a community of learners, in this case, being the IJHS community, through these projects and mentorship. So the inspiration behind Cogniforge actually came from the COVID pandemic, where we wanted to create a platform that addresses some of the limitations of the current online learning platforms, such as like Khan Academy. And the main thing is that students don't really like the concept of just answering questions and rather will want to do something that's more hands-on, like a project. In addition, we wanted to create like a space where students could work on projects that interest them, collaborate with their peers, and receive guidance from mentors. So this learning approach is more engaging, effective, and fulfilling for many students.
That sounds great. Can you tell me more about how that idea looked like before you actually started the project? So what was your like original goal or the information you had before you submitted this CSP form?
Right. So this actually came out of Yala Camp, I believe, 2 years ago, and it came out of CSC Hackathon. I was leading a team. And the idea was actually pretty close to the pitch we have right now. Is the original idea was to develop this digital learning platform where students can learn things that are usually not covered outside of the standard school curriculum. In this case, I'm looking at like my school, which is IB system. So things like programming, things that like kids don't usually want to study or have the capacity to within their normal education system. But anyways, um, I think that right now, for the direction that we're going in terms of the team, it didn't really stray much, although we did make some minor changes here and there. We're working with the CSP committee.
Great. So you mentioned we a lot, and as you said that this started at Yala, I assume that you already had a few people working with you when the project started. But from what I gathered, it really grew after that as well. So how did you go about like finding community members to again getting them involved in the project? And how did that member participation inside and outside of IJHS help the success of your CSP?
I think Yala has been a really great source of getting member interest, right? Because after all, Cogniforge is a community-driven platform. So what we do is we encourage members to like suggest what project they might be interested in, and then as soon as we have a complete compiled list, we allowed members to apply to organize such a project. For example, we have already two projects that have been created. One is on building a calculator with Python, and the other one's building a website, which will be released in the coming month. So this approach helped really to foster a sense of like ownership, like you did this, you made this, everything is by you. So they became invested, right, in like how successful the project might be and how they might be able to improve on the skills that they utilize during the making of this whole project. Because we do want to decentralize this so that it's instead of having a small team of 5 to 10 members working on everything, it'll be really two community members on what they want to learn and what they want to learn from their peers.
That sounds really cool. So you said that this is something that was going on for around 2 years, right? And over that time, it's also something that's going on online, and all of your members were there, like in the same time, same space, only on Yala. And then, we had 2 years of COVID and everything else. How did you measure your success of the CSP and the community impact, especially considering the fact that it's kind of indirect service, so you're not directly observing the people you are helping?
Yeah. So the metrics that we use to measure is quite kind of diverse because, as you mentioned, it is an online platform. There's a lot of things that you can base it off of. So what we're looking at is we are going to look at user engagement, uh, just basically how much people actually visited the project and how many of them actually completed it, and the feedback that we receive like in every stage of project. So what we do is occasionally we'll ask them to submit a check-in, right? Just to make sure that everything's all right, you've been doing this correctly, and if there's any issues, the mentor or the organizer of the project can help you out. We also like track how many students collaborate, and one way to do that is through like monthly work sessions that we'll be organizing in Discord server, which has around 100 members. And I feel like Discord would be really a great gateway to tracking the outcomes that the user achieve from their own personal projects and see how many users form meaningful connections with their peers and foster like friendships outside of Yala.
This sounds like a very fun thing to do and also to participate in, but it must have been challenging at times. So, what is the biggest thing you had to overcome when implementing the CSP, and what is something that you've done or a way in which CSP.com have helped you so you can kind of bridge over that?
So one of the biggest challenges for us is getting the word out of our platform and attracting members to join the community and the team. Because the initial team that I incubated during Yala 2020 or 2021, they are not the same team as I have today. In fact, I'm actually recruiting a new set of teams so that we can have some new faces joining in and offering some opinions. So the challenge was kind of overcame when I pitched the idea to Rishi, who then involved me with the CSP committee, and then we targeted like students from Yala specifically. So, for example, Yala like this year, 2022, I hosted a coding workshop. It was around 2 hours. So it's a nice way to introduce Cogniforge. And another challenge we faced was that I need to make sure that the platform that the both the platform and the projects that we are basing everything on, we're actually engaging and challenging enough to keep users motivated. So I personally worked closely with the two mentors that I mentioned previously to develop like step by step in terms of building up the Python calculator and the website, and also providing the necessary support and guidance to help them overcome any obstacles they encounter, like whether technical issues or designing anything or just getting a proofread out of the content.
So, from what you described, there has been a lot of thought put into every stage of the project, as well as a lot of different collaborations and connections that you made throughout the way. So, when you look at the whole 2 years, how do you think that Cogniforge project actually changes you as a person?
Right, so implementing Cogniforge has taught me a lot of like social skills, for example, like the importance of listening to the others, like students' needs, being open to new ideas, and working collaboratively with a team with people who are younger and older than you to achieve the shared goal. I've also learned about like a lot of challenges and setbacks. For example, like I think that this applies to like if you want to be a founder of like any project or you want to a project lead, building a successful project is not easy. There's like a lot of times where you have to make very serious decisions that might later turn out to be not that great. And we definitely learned from them. We kept pushing forward, and in doing so, we learned about a lot about both like the individual members in the core team and what we can achieve, what we might have improved every time. So it's kind of like I don't want to use this. This is like too cliche. You like gradually move up into a mountain where like every small peak is like a milestone to your success, right? So at the end, the final project that you want to launch is that highermost peak. You just want to keep pushing.
So if you had to choose out of all of these peaks you had in 2 years, if you had to choose one that is specifically a memorable experience for you, which one it would be and why?
Right. So one of my most memorable moments was like Yala 2022 when I hosted my first coding workshop because primarily it was my first workshop that I hosted. It was really exciting. It was amazing to see the 180 Yala learners come together to work on their own like both their CSP projects, their personal project, or even learn just come here just to learn how to code, right? It's great seeing them share ideas, share little tips and tricks. And what I really enjoyed seeing is like some of the kids who know how to code, helping people who haven't even looked at like the idea, the process of them like building a website or doing something really visual and like useful with code and collaborate with like more experienced members to build this really cool end product.
And looking through the Yala feedback, it seems like that workshop also helped a lot of people think of how they can build CSPs around technology and coding as well. So that's a memory that, or something that you would definitely want to redo, and that was good in the journey. But you also mentioned a lot of challenges. Which of them would you like to skip over? Something that you would rather do differently if you had a chance to go all over again?
Right. So one thing I the team could definitely worked on differently was to invest more time and resources into doing marketing outreach early on. And that's actually something that we are taking a few steps back on and actually working on right now to get the word of mouth out. Because while we could build a vibrant and engaged communities of users just based on our Discord server, right? It took us longer than anticipated to like actually try to reach to a wider range of students, both inside and especially outside of IJHS, right? Because the ultimate goal is to have this community um, across regions. So if I have to do over again, I would have focused more on building awareness, reaching wider scope of students, and this will allowed us to like grow our user base more quickly, both through word of mouth and through like social media, and achieve our goals more efficiently per se.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so we have talked a lot about all the different forms you have to fill, the fact that you need to pitch in your project, the different setbacks, and all of that. But one thing that I think kind of got under the pile of everything we just said is that CSP projects are not all sweat. It's also community engagement. It's also connecting with your peers, as you mentioned before. So, can you go back into what kind of fun experiences you had while you worked on this project?
Right, so this was actually like uh, way back when I after I pitched it to the CSB committee and I was actually working on version one of Cogniforge. So it was when I posted it onto the IJHS community server, I wasn't expecting that there was such a surge in demand uh, and interest from IJHS members that we didn't actually prepare for that. So like within like 2 weeks, the Discord server member count shot up to like 60. So of course we were like really thrilled that many people were interested, but it also created like some logistical challenge because originally we were planning to like just take things easy, right? We planned for like milestones 2 months ahead, right? And now we had to pull back, reevaluate everything, and then set things out way earlier than we expected. So partially ties into something I would have the things that I would have done differently, and because that caused some of the outreach things to be skipped. It was very essential to do that, even though we had a lot of interest within the IJHS community.
Yeah, that seems like a good challenge to have in a way. Just now we mentioned all the ways you can find about CSPs, such as the IJHS Discord website, as well as the Instagram. School for All has one, and I don't think I saw any for the other CSPs. Why is that? And how important have those different media outlets been for you to actually get people involved?
Here's the thing: we we want to do social media, right? But the problem with that is when we have, like, for example, take Nobel CSP School for All. We're currently operating everything on Nobel's personal email and things. All the legality and things is through Nobel. It's a centralized funnel, right? But as the founder, I don't want the same thing to do with like Cogniforge. What I did was I had account like just a week ago, and right now I am like organizing to set up a domain and everything for like emails for team members, right? So what I want this to that people actually have the responsibility within the team. Like, for example, someone might be in charge of bank, someone might be in charge of social media, as we discussed. Some people might just be in charge of the content, right? Because everything right now has been handled by me. And as we gradually restructure the team, there's going to be a whole lot more things to be delegated towards.
So, I'm working on this CSP for 2 years, and from what I know, you've been involved in kind of supervising as well as consulting some other CSPs or School for All, for example, which people can learn more about if they go to the IJHS website and look into Nobel's CSP as well. But that's a lot of experience with different CSPs and different leaders of CSPs. And if you had to kind of summarize what that experience is and what someone who is just stepping into CSP project for the first time should know, which advice would you give them?
My advice, similar to what Noriko said previously, was to start by identifying the need or problem you want to address. That's like the main core thing. Now, um, the problem when you're initially developing doesn't have to be like that specific. Like when I started off, I looked at education. Right? You look at a broad topic, look for ways to leverage technology and innovation to create such a solution that is both scalable and accessible to like the target audience that you're looking for, right? Preferably, if you have no idea about what your audience is going to be about, just target a wide audience. Like me, if I summarize Cogniforge into like 5 words, it would just be alternative online learning for students, right? So if you can come up with a line like that and develop from there, you practically got yourself a CSP pitch, right? So then what you then do is you be open to feedback from your like CSP committee once you have submitted your pitch. You be willing to pivot and adapt your approach to just serve like the goal better because a lot of times you have to pivot maybe something that you want to do to something that you should do. And so, for example, building a team of passionate and dedicated individuals who share the vision that you have and can help you bring the project to life is very important. Like, I cannot underscore how important it is to have people who want to work towards a similar goal that you have when building a project. For example, my team, I make sure that everyone is on the same page of what we're building. Everyone is familiar with the things that they have been assigned to. So, for example, we have web developers, we have social media organizers, and soon enough, we'll be having content designers working on everything, right? So everything is modular based. Let's just say that. And finally, don't be afraid to take risks and embrace failure because that's an opportunity to learn and grow. So uh, I haven't heard of one single successful projects that have like had some logistical social challenges, whether it's talking for funding, organizing an event, or just raising awareness, like what Cogniforge is currently facing. So if you got yourself down to all of these like simple steps, I'm pretty sure you can get off with a really cool and successful project.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Noriko, is there anything you would like to add from your own experience? Advice for whoever is going to do CSPs and stuff?
Okay, adding to Peter's answer, I would say my advice is you need to really set your goals, but set goals that are SMART. SMART is an acronym. I always tell this myself. SMART as in specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And you need to set goals that motivate you. And then you need to write them down to make them feel tangible. I would like to emphasize more on attainable and time bound ones. For example, you want to add, let's just say world hunger. Now you want to say and start something with something that is attainable, which is to help your own community first. And then you also wanted to start at least 6 months since the days you start preparing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you find yourself needing 1 year to start a project, I would say see your goals again and reflect if there is something that you can do to make your CSP better. Now, goals is really important because it is the core of your CSP. So if you don't have a solid goals, then you cannot continue doing it. And secondly, you also need a really strong and solid team. The team can grow, the team can also size down, but you need to find people that has similar interests with you. And finding this kind of people, it will motivate you to continue with your CSP better, and you will also get constructive feedbacks from them. You can also get whatever you need from them. And being the GSLC, it makes me realize how important a strong team is. And thirdly, and most importantly, is to just start now. You don't have to think a lot, you just need to start now, and then the ideas will come along the way. Yeah, I guess that's it from me.
Okay, thank you both so much for sharing all of your experience. And I'm hoping that some of the people listening here may already have an idea or will go check out all the places we mentioned before and that Peter will list again for us where they can get more inspiration. And we're looking forward to getting your CSP forms coming in soon or seeing you get involved with the existing CSPs.
To wrap this up, you guys might know me as Cogniforge founder, but you might also know me as the new outreach head. Yes. Okay, this might not sound exciting, but we have social media other than Discord. You know how crazy that is? We have an Instagram account, we have a Twitter account, and YouTube account is coming your way. So it's at IJHS community through everything. If you just Google it, you'll probably see it. So yeah, go follow because we might have some Nintendo coupons coming your way.
Thank you, everyone. See you next month.
Thank you.
Bye bye.